Smiga's played really, really well. He actually beat Eshwar and then lost to Eka, and then beat Tempeyes, then I rushed him. So he's had a bit of an up and down day, and he's been winning the games you'd think would be tough, and he's been losing the games you'd think he'd have a better chance in. Because he would have had a better chance to beat... I mean, would have had a better chance to lose at Tempeyes than to me at the moment, I think. Tempeyes is playing really well too. But then, yeah, beating Eshwar and losing to Eka is a funny one. We've had some interesting games. Eshwar rushing straight to age 4. Me just rushing with 2 barrackses. So we've got... That's enough of Smiga's last games. We've got Ares stepping up to be Smiga's 5th opponent for the day, with Smiga winning against 2 and losing against 2. We've got Egypt versus Egypt. Ares in the red trunks. Smiga in the yellow. Smiga going for an early barracks. Ares going double storehouse, so we know he's not going early barracks. In fact, Ares committing to hunting dogs already, so he's intending to play this pretty greedily, get 4 villages on the food there, maybe even a 5th a little bit later once he gets to 5 on wood here. Get to 200 food, just work towards H2 and a second town center, get some stone. Smiga on the other hand, getting a few spears. I'm not sure how quick this is gonna be. It's tough trying to squeeze back through here without taking TC fire. A pretty interesting map. There's always this 3-tiered mountain range here, so you can access this first little U-bend bit, access each other's bases. These next two are just impassable. You can't really do anything about that. So there's a really short distance between players starting town centers at the top here, but the map really sort of fans out in the diamond shape. So Smiga's going for it. A couple of spears, 3rd on the way, and 4th, and 5th even. So not too expensive Egypt spears, they train pretty quickly as well. A couple of seconds quicker than the other spearmen. Ares has already gone up to 9 on food and is preemptively moving his priestess here. So he's already got the wood he needs for the age up. He's going to have to bring back a lot of stuff here. But this actually gives him a great fighting potential against the spears. So he can pretty much just gather through this. And if he needs to, just start one-shotting spears just about. Yeah, so here we go. Ares taking the fight with the villagers. A couple of bursts from them, they'll be able to pick off the spears. The villager does go down by the look of it, so 12 vills to 14 for Smiga here. So the vill production time is also slowed. Ares, 18 seconds for a villager. Smiga on 16 because there's no empowering at the town center at the moment. The scout can actually chip away at one of the spears pretty easily here. Actually picks him off. So it's nice micro there from Ares. Got plenty of vills here. And he actually doesn't need this much food. He can commit to getting the stone for the town center, but he actually really needs to get wood here as well. Because it'd be not so difficult to push him off that. It's actually honestly harder to dive the stone with the position that's in. So this villager going back to make a house, he'll be able to do so. Smiga doesn't really have the spear number now to really dive because he's lost a couple of spears to the villagers, to the scout, to the town center. Has gotten the villager out of it and is ahead by another villager because of train time and gathering differences. Smiga's age up will be pretty slow in comparison. Ares is pretty safe though, he can gather food from the other side. These spears now going to have to struggle to try and get past the town centre without taking too much damage, but they're a reasonable number of them. He can probably try and harass this wood a little bit. Might be able to get a villager here. Ooh, Ares is quick on the healing there. Scout actually copying the brunt of the damage there. Priestess herself's going to have to come back. So she will actually be impacted by the snare, whereas villagers and the scout won't. So she'll fall. Ares still has another scout, another priestess there. Good micro there. And the scout being focused down is a bit of a no-no. If you can avoid it, you pretty much should always focus something other than scouts, particularly in this sort of situation where you got low unit count under the town center. A bit of a misplay there by Smiga. He's going to have to pull back while copying a bit of harassment from the scout. It's only like 4 damage at a time, but not really much you can do to stop it. Love Egyptian Spearmen. Tubby boys. Ares very defensive second town center. Smiga's is pretty much just as defensive here, and he needs to start in that villager production again. Don't know what he's doing here. There we go. A little bit late on that. But his TC should be just as quick as Ares at the moment, and 22 to 24 villagers. So right now Smiga's effectively up a town center. I mean, a barracks, and down hunting dogs overall, and up a couple of villages as well. Top player's pretty similar base layout really, it's just that the berries for Ares is actually here, more or less. Let's get these guys back to work though, Smiga. The Spearman stuck up the top here, so he's going to have to try and run back round. Be a little while there. So stables here for Ares. Smiga, no more production, but he's just getting a lot of wood. He's adding hunting dogs. He's going to switch back to getting more food and gold in a minute, but for now, getting conditionings, transitioning to axemen. Ares going stables, wanting to get camels, maybe to try and harass here, as well as they can actually tank quite well against axemen. Obviously, not very well against spearmen, but then if you get spearmen to try and get the camels down, then they just get gobbled up by the axemen. So another stables and a stables and another barracks for Smiga. So he's actually leading production facility production by a little bit here. No camels yet for Ares. He may actually be going for a quick age 3, and this way he can actually start chariot production as soon as he gets it. So actually that is what he's looking to do. Hoping to try and have this hit before Smiga can hit a critical mass and push. But Smiga's thought this out. I think if he can just get a camel or two in the mix here, he can really negate the early chariots. Because they're going to be expensive for Ares, and he's going to be trying to get that third town center to really pay off. Going for such an early age 3, but doing so puts him even further in the hole in terms of resources, down on overall army value. So pretty, these stables. The camel, the horse, bathtub. Actually, it's not a bathtub, it's a drink trough, is it? Yeah. That's a bit pretty for it. It's like the shape of an actual bath. Or a, you know, like a fountain or something. So stables, production starting for Smiga, but he's probably going to want to ramp that up or get armory upgrades here. And actually mount an attack here. It's been a little bit slow on the second push here. A couple of camels in the mix. Obviously Ares wants them to shield his chariots when he transitions to those. Smiga going to be a bit slow to engage here, but if he actually gets right here, he can probably get a villager or two out of this. If Ares isn't watching, Ares has just turned away, so this is great for Smiga. Camel's taking a little bit of damage. Priestesses will be able to heal through this, and Ares is willing to sacrifice Vil production speed to actually heal everything up. But now, he's sort of backed into a corner and he's relying on the food from this alley. He's got a bit of food in the bank actually. Oh no, that's Smiga with the food in the bank. And I mean, Ares has a little in the bank. Going for chariots mainly now. So Smiga's going to want to get maybe some slingers, some camels, and then look at getting his own age 3 at some point here. But for now, he's got a much bigger army. so he probably should go in here. Up by about 18 army pop at the moment. Should try and get some value out of this, because Ares does have the gold up there. He's going to eventually have to transition to farms, but does have the food to actually just keep camel production up. Maybe even add a handful of axemen in the mix later as well. Smiga. Oh, yeah, there we go. Conditioning here for Ares, so he's H3. He can save for axeman champion if he wishes. Smiga really needs to push here at some point, though. No armory here, but he's leading in terms of production. He's getting slingers now. It's a fair distance for everything to actually travel, even though it's not a huge map. Armory is on the way. Ares has got a lot of stone, so he's got third town center on the way. So right now, Smiga should look at just pushing as soon as he can spend up what he's got in the bank here and get these guys to all stack up. Because he's bringing a priestess. He could actually even look at bringing both of these and then just having his Temple of Ra just basically trickle more priestesses onto his town centers for now. That way he's got as many here as possible. Because right now, Smiga has a much bigger army. He probably should just go for it. Ares, in the meanwhile, will be cacking his stacks a little bit, hoping that Smiga doesn't do exactly that, and sort of lets him get back into the game with some tidy eco here, because now Ares is going to start pulling ahead on villages. That gap of 2 or 3 villages in favour of Smiga is now shut. So both our players at about 60 villager population at the moment. Slingers trying to focus down the chariots. There's not a huge number of them. Smiga's actually going for barbed arrows first, even though his composition is mainly melee. So it's an interesting choice. It's going to take a while for that to pay off. But he may be going for just a huge number of slingers here. Ares, little gold starved while he's getting Axeman Champion here, and he hasn't got a great number of them out either. So our player's sort of preemptively getting upgrades here. Armory going down for Ares, and he's just trying to wall himself in, protect his food source here. He hasn't got a lot in the bank. Smiga, on the other hand, overgathering food a tad. He probably wants to get these guys on wood so he can start saving for the H3, start, you know, paying for upgrades in advance, although it looks like he's doing that. Scale mail and hide armor, the combined armor upgrade for Egypt, going to kick in for Smiga soon. And this is a nice watch post. In fact, he probably should look at just pushing now. He's at 160 pop, so there's no better time to push than right now for him. So he's just getting these last straggly units to come in, and the army is going to engage. He's actually, in a way, baited out these camels, so his own camels well outnumber these guys. Smiga is going to get a couple of camels off Ares there, but Ares right now is actually pulling ahead in terms of populations. He's closing the gap. He's going to be able to start getting to 180 pop instead of just 160 for Smiga. I think Smiga should just look at pushing here maybe. His own temple is set. On the way up, those last few straggler units, the slingers coming in now. Smiga. Ares just getting to 160 pop. He is also up in Vil pop by 11. So Ares still down by 10 mil pop, basically. Smart for Ares too. He's going to keep an eye on Smiga, getting some watch posts on the top here. Probably going to wall this in eventually. Getting some stables. So he wants to be able to produce chariot, camel as easily as possible. He's got a great chariot count. He's got a lot of slingers out of Smiga. Barbed arrows coming in for Ares. It's going to be great for generalist damage, while getting barbed arrows for Smiga really only benefit these slingers, but he didn't actually have a huge amount in that earlier engagement. In a very passive game so far. Ares closing the score gap now. He's pulling ahead in terms of upgrades now, getting Camel Champion 2. Smiga has neither upgrade. He's got his Age 3 now, but his Camel Champion's on the way. His Axe Champion not even in the queue yet. Hasn't got Slinger Champion, and they're probably the most specialized unit. Really only here to deal with the chariots. This is interesting from Ares. Smiga's going to try and wall himself in here, but Ares is going to be able to use some rams there. And if the game goes on long enough and the players get age 4, there'll be polyntons or catapults being used to take out these structures on the low ground. Oh, this is nice. Rather than fully commit to a wall, and he knows he's actually got buildings here, so he knows what's coming. He can just put a fort there, and that'll allow him to produce war rallies and defend his base. So Smiga, now that he's committed to all these slingers, the value of them has really started to drop off. They have got a terrible health pool and base damage this far into the game. Something like chariots, just much more effective unit all around. But Smiga, plenty of resources in the bank. Ares really only just able to start getting on more food and gold sources now. Smiga really probably needs to get his slingers to focus down these chariots here, but at the same time, it's not a great front line here for Ares. But yeah, the chariots are definitely cleaning up a lot. So Ares going to be able to kite Smiga out in the open now. Neither player has much of a front line left at this point. And those chariots in particular are able to really clap back with their 40 base damage. Slingers on the other hand have 7 base damage. This is cheeky from Ares. It's not going to be impossible to clean up though. Particularly when they're all condensed like this. But Smiga's going to have to get villagers to actually focus on them and kill them. Which might pull away from his eco in the meanwhile. And Smiga, age 3 now, but still producing some slingers. Probably needs to transition to chariots, and he's actually using these guys to help clean up that siege push. The slinger control for Smiga, I think, has been what's letting him down, because some of these fights, I think he probably could have won it, because it looked like he had a much better front line, but it would then collapse because Ares with the chariots, it's just a much better generalist backline unit. They're expensive, so if you can take them down, it's really worthwhile. But ooh, Smiga was going to want to get these guys out of here before he loses them. Ooh, but this has really paid off for Ares. He's got a fair bit of production out of this. In fact, I think he's gotten a town center. GG. Ares takes the game.